He calls himself a connector, an adventurer, a writer, and a dad. He's also the founder of Bellingham-based nonprofit Recreation Northwest. He is Todd Elsworth, and he joins us today for Bellingham Voices. Thanks for being here, Todd.
Thank you, Deb.
So let's get to know you first a little bit. You're from Bellingham, is that right?
I am from Bellingham, born here and raised in Kirkland, but I get the honor of saying that I've lived in Bellingham on and off every decade since the 60s.
So you spent some time on the East Coast though too, right?
I did.
As a professional.
So I left here in 1992 after I graduated from Western and eventually made my way back to Portsmouth, New Hampshire.
Where?
Portsmouth, New Hampshire.
And what did you do in New Hampshire?
So I went back there originally to study and teach history. And while I was along that career path, worked at the Red Hook Brewery, helped them open up out there, and also in bike and ski shops, and then went forward with my academics to become a middle school history teacher.
Oh, how long did you do that?
Just for a year. Yep, that was enough. Yeah.
And then did you feel the urge to come back to the Pacific Northwest? How did that happen?
Just through life circumstances, it was a good time for me to come back. And so this really sets up the stage and the story for how the Bellingham Traverse came to be.
Yeah, let's talk about that, because that was really your first contribution to the community. So when did you get back to Bellingham? What year was that?
So I moved back in 2001.
Okay.
And took about a year to put together a new company that I'd called Bellingham Benefits. But I'd been gone for 10 years, so I really wanted to be able to demonstrate to the community who I am, what I do, what my values are. And so I put together the Bellingham Traverse, which is a multi-sport relay that celebrates the life cycle of wild salmon, demonstrating the natural and urban challenges that fish face in their journey. I've said that for a long time.
That's so unique and clever and creative. How did you come up with that?
So when I was on my 10 years away, the first stop I had was in Sun Valley, Idaho, and I met a good friend there who introduced me to the writings of David James Duncan. In his book, The River Why, he really opened up my eyes to the value of salmon in our culture, whether it's economic, social, and also just the biological, the ecology of salmon. And so that friend that introduced me to his writing said, as I told him I was leaving the Northwest to go travel and explore, he said, "That's okay, you're a salmon boy, you'll return. You're from the Northwest, you will return." And so when I did return to Bellingham, I knew that I wanted to put on an event like this. I had participated in one similar to this in New Hampshire, and had also been putting on events for the last 4 years in New Hampshire as an advocate for bicycling.
Okay.
And helping build a bicycle transportation network and raise money for those causes. So that's really where I cut my teeth in event planning and promotions. And so when I came back to Bellingham, I wanted to kind of share what I had learned and also introduce myself to the community as I was returning.
So talk specifically about the Traverse. It follows the lifespan of a salmon, but it's also it's really great the way our environment allows that for humans to do. What is the relay? What is the race?
So the course is just like the life cycle of salmon, one big circle from start to finish. And I chose what has become more and more the magnet of downtown Bellingham, Boundary Bay. And so in the first years, we actually started down the block a little bit, where now it's more condominiums, apartments. It was a big gravel lot, but started there and finished there. And basically I was able to create a course demonstrating the different types of activities you can do here in Bellingham right from downtown, but also showing off the amazing network of greenways, trails, and the connectedness that we have to our parks. They can't go without saying, to giving a nod to Tim Wall, who was really one of the founders of our greenway system here, and also just thank the citizens of Bellingham for continuously approving our greenways levies to be able to have one of the best trail towns around.
Yeah.
So for me, it was great to be able to just connect a bunch of different dots on a map. And so the course itself, which I really wanted to design the course for soloists, for individuals. That's one of the differentiators between ski to sea, where same sort of thing, big relay, but from the mountains to the sound. This was more just in and around town, but creating that opportunity for soloists. I'd done a race out in New Hampshire as a solo Ironman and realized that, hey, this is fun. There's a core of people out there that this is right for, and so let's help give them an opportunity.
Wow.
While also then providing divisions for people in tandem and relay teams, and that's where we've really seen not only the Traverse grow, but so many other local community events and regionally where people are really, they're out there being athletic and giving it their all, but it's also about getting dressed up in costumes and having fun like that. So
yeah.
Back to the course, because really, again, it's here in Bellingham, as I've tried for years to say, we are the recreation capital of the Northwest. We have so much to offer. And so the course shows that all off, starts downtown, run down the South Bay Trail, through Boulevard Park, Taylor Dock, winds through Fairhaven, all the way up to Lake Padden. And then from there we switch to mountain bikes, and it's a very challenging mountain bike course through Lake Padden. We're able to work with the city of Bellingham really closely to help manage that and how we can create a safe environment both for our racers and for the spectators. And then from there we loop back into Lake Padden, jump on your road bike, ride 17 miles down around Lake Samish, back Old Samish Way into Fairhaven, where over the years that transition has changed just because of ongoing development and lessons learned on our part. And then from there, off the road bikes, on back onto the trails, a trail run up into Fairhaven Park, which we'll talk about a little bit later when we get into my current work. And then back down to Marine Park, where one of the things we're fortunate here in Bellingham is to have access to waterfront. And so we launch people out in the bay and zigzag back in front of Taylor Dock, back to the finish at the end of Cornwall Avenue, Cornwall or Glass Beach. And then from there, one of the more unique things of the Traverse is what we call the Trek, where we'd have everyone that was doing it tandem relay come together and do that last leg together.
I love that.
And so that was a lot of fun, having teams come across the finish line hand in hand. We encouraged. Just made for a fun photo finish, and then just working continuously over the years with the farmers market and with Boundary to really invigorate that block and just have it be a fun finish for everybody. And then we would have a nice after party in the beer garden. Over the years, Boundary had been just one of our most solid partners, even brewing a beer for us annually and really working with us as community collaborators to pull off a fun event.
That's great.
Yeah.
Now, as if the Traverse weren't enough, at some point along the line since 2002, you wanted to do more. So tell us about Recreation Northwest and how that came about.
Yep. So even before I started Recreation Northwest, we expanded the Traverse into Olympia. And so I was working a day job locally, had a career marketing for SPIE. Many people know or don't know who SPIE is. But I worked for them for 6 years while I was putting the Traverse on. So it was kind of a side gig. We went down to Olympia and saw opportunity there. And really it was back to me personally, what I was missing was my connection to community. And so I chose to leave SPIE at that time, about 2012, and really look to start Recreation Northwest to not only manage the Traverses, but also look for more opportunities to serve the community with regards to recreation.
I think the mission of Recreation Northwest is so great. I got this from the website, to promote outdoor recreation and bring people together to enjoy, preserve, and improve the places where we play.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
It is a lot.
Yeah.
And the thing that I love most about our mission is it ends in play. Because that's really important for me.
To have fun.
I like to have fun.
Yep.
And get some work done.
So what what are you doing with Recreation Northwest?
Well, it's been a very interesting, challenging, rewarding last 6 years of being an entrepreneurial nonprofit. With the foundation of the Traverse and adding other traverses to the mix, back when we started in 2013 into 2014, we also put on a kids traverse here locally for 3 years. We brought other adventure races under our umbrella because that was really what we were known for and what we were doing. But I was really excited to get out and explore more and basically tackle issues or problems or projects that weren't being addressed. And so we kind of broke it down into 3 main buckets: stewardship, education, and fun.
Okay.
So our fun were all of our races. Stewardship is a word that I appreciate and am curious about and want to explore. And then the education side, we also opened those doors to see what that looked like. So in the stewardship realm, it was sitting down with Saul Weisberg, the founder of the North Cascades Institute, who I immensely admire for the work that he's done in building the Environmental Learning Center. And so I talked to Saul and said, here's what we're doing, here's what I've done, here's what I'm thinking of doing. And the wise old sage just looked across the table and said, just pick a place and take care of it.
Oh.
Well, that's easy enough. And so that decision for me and for Recreation Northwest was really easy. I chose Fairhaven Park as our stewardship project because that's where I'd played as a kid when I was first born here. My parents were still finishing up school. But then when I came back, Fairhaven was where I'd go play. The Traverse went through there, and so it was just a great mix. And so then that started our partnership with the city of Bellingham because it's their park. But we've been doing ongoing stewardship and trail work through there, basically rerouting unsanctioned trails that were just leading people through the mud and moving those trails. And then the biggest piece of the project was our second phase, which we finished in, well, we're still kind of working on it, 2015-16, installing a wetland boardwalk to really meet our mission of getting more people out there to be able to play in the woods. And so that project has been immensely meaningful for me, to be able to provide that opportunity for people to get out and explore safely, feeling good about it. But the interesting thing, and looking back when we first got into the project, that since this was all new to me, I didn't really know that I would be responsible for the next 10 years to keep my 286 plants, native plants, alive. So I've grown more of a green thumb over the years as part of this stewardship project. So currently we have basically 5 different native plant gardens that we are responsible for taking care of as part of that offset for building that trail. And it's one of those labor of love things. It's really nice for me to be able to just go out in what I feel like is my special little place.
Right.
Get to know the neighbors. There's regular faces that come through, and it's just really meaningful for me to be able to continue to do that work.
Part of the stewardship with Fairhaven Park involves work parties that you guys put on, and I think it's so great that they seem so accessible. They're only 2 hours long. And I think that is just so smart. The commitment is so small, but then people really feel ownership, I would think. If they're going to plant trees or get rid of stuff that's not, get rid of the plants that we don't want, or plant the native plants. 2 hours?
Yep, pretty simple.
That's great.
Yep, and then...
with the party afterwards.
And then we always go to Stone's Throw. Yep, I have a hard time staying away from breweries.
That's wonderful. That's great. You also have a program under Recreation Northwest. This is a newer program. It's called Parkscriptions.
Yes.
Let's talk about that.
Yes.
What is that?
So Parkscriptions is part of really a national movement called Park RX. That was kind of a mouthful for us, so myself and a core group of people at Stone's Throw, after a couple beers, came up with the name Parkscriptions. And so we're aligned with more national movements. This goes back to the National Park Service. kind of created this following the lead of some folks in Australia coming up with the Healthy Parks, Healthy People program. And so really following the lead of the National Park Service, we got into our Parkscriptions program about 3.5, 4 years ago. And that was initially led by my former co-founder, April Claxton, who really helped me get Recreation Northwest off the ground. She's moved on to another career now, but we've taken Parkscriptions and for the past 2 years have really looked at it as a pilot program, working with our local healthcare providers to, in the nitty-gritty of what the program is basically using a web-based tool that we call Whatcom Park Finder to be able to prescribe outdoor time and activity for people. It's been amazing and really educational for me to understand what this program is about. So many people jump to the active side of things, and really more and more as we're learning it into this, it's really just touting the benefits of nature and the healing powers of just going outside and experiencing the sound of leaves rustling, the force of the wind, running water, birds chirping. Like, these are very healing noises and sounds and experiences that so many of us just let go of. And so over the years, just me coming to understand this, it's even trying to back off of trying to get people to go outside and exercise and just go out and even take care of your mental health. You could be in great physical shape, but if you're stressed out and too much screen time, here's a way to try and alleviate some of that and get your health back.
Wow.
Yep. So
if someone wanted to take part in Parkscriptions, they would go to that website and look at the different parks and opportunities that are out there?
Yeah, and so that's one of the really neat things about this. The platform is based off a web platform that was built out of Washington, D.C. Dr. Robert Czar is one of the leading clinicians in the country that really touts the benefits of this. So we've partnered with him. So the website, basically, WhatcomParkFinder.org, is all of the public parks in Whatcom County. So we've been working for the last 2 years to get all of that GIS data in there for the primary purpose of our healthcare providers sitting down with patients and saying, here, let's pick a park that's right for you, find the frequency of you going out there, because really it's those healthcare specialists as that trusted source of information that really is the solid foundation for this program. But one of the interesting things is, as you just asked, was I want people to be able to self-parkscribe and go to Whatcom Park Finder and find parks that they've maybe never been to, or maybe one there is, just to get to know a little bit better. And so we're moving towards that realm too, so people can self-medicate, if you will, and be explorers and go find all the different parks that we have. One of the benefits of the Whatcom Park Finder tool is you don't have to know who the property owners are. And that's one of the biggest challenges that I even have as an outdoor adventurer, is finding what maps there are, because there's so many different landowners and sometimes they cross over. Like, even if you go through the Chuckanuts, there's 3 different landowners that you may cross over in there. So this is a tool for the public, is fantastic, and really proud that we're able to offer it.
It sounds amazing.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah.
And it's not about raising your heart rate necessarily.
No, it's actually, I think, about bringing it down and just chilling out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the economic impact of the recreation industry in the community, because that's another arm of Recreation Northwest, right?
Yes.
And because you did a study. Talk about that a little bit.
So back to when we were initially exploring what we should do with Recreation Northwest, we had the fun, we had the stewardship, and it's that education piece that we were curious about. And so I have a history degree, that's what I was teaching and excited about. And so it's always fun to tell more stories and just put fun spin on things. So I created our own core discovery, mimicking what Thomas Jefferson did, sending Lewis and Clark out, which was really to explore the economic opportunities of the West. So as we were doing that same thing with some interns and some board members, going around talking to people, Saul was one of those folks, like, what do we do with this? One of the conversations I had was with our former tourism director, and she said, it would be great to have an economic impact study for recreation in Whatcom County. I will help fund it through tourism. And so we were really swiftly able to get funding from the city, the county, and the port, and tourism to help fund a study that demonstrated the value of recreation for our county. This was also coming at the same time that it was happening on a state level. There was other stuff happening at the state where the state was having an economic impact study done, so we were able to piggyback on that. We got a great deal, but also we were able to come out and say, here's what recreation looks like for the economy for Whatcom County, but also pairing with what was happening in Washington State. Out of that came our creation of basically a conference for people that work in the field of recreation. And when I say, usually I say that the recreation industry, but people think more about manufacturing and retail, when one thing that we've tried to do, and I think we've done it successfully over the years, is really demonstrate the breadth and depth of what the recreation economy looks like. Our study was able to put the numbers there, but in the work that we do with we call it the Washington Outdoor Summit conference, bringing people together that represent all these different sectors, whether it's manufacturing, retail, guides, healthcare providers are in that realm, physical therapists, professional athletes. The media is also a big part of our recreation economy, as we see more and more magazines and websites coming out right here in Bellingham. I'm really proud that we're kind of that center for that. Since that publication of that study and the growth of our summit, we've also hosted more public-facing, our Recreation Northwest Expo. Started really small, really just to serve the needs of my colleagues in the race director world, because we have so many races and events here. But then that soon expanded into really getting into, and me realizing, like, here's what recreation looks like, and basically an expo for people to come find out all the opportunities there are, all the different businesses, and really get a sense of what that economic impact is, and even can be even greater.
And you hold that expo that's now grown over the last couple of years.
Yes.
And that's in January, February?
It has been in February.
Okay.
The big news moving into 2020 is that we'll be moving that into May.
Okay.
It will still be held down in Fairhaven at the Bellingham Cruise Terminal. But the one thing I'm excited to do now in next year, moving into that nicer weather, we're going to invigorate all that lower Fairhaven area. We're going to open up Marine Park for kayak and camping demos. And then I also want to have bike demos so people can actually get outside and try and experience the gear and the people that have been part of the expo for years.
That's great.
Yeah.
And the expo's free?
It has been in the past, but as we move into this next year, because we're going to be providing demos and a lot more stuff, we're going to have a $5 entry fee to get in to experience the whole expo, and then probably $10 if you want to do demos. Yep. Still, it's
great deal.
Yep.
Yeah, what a great idea. So, this might be an obvious question, but why is Bellingham so popular with the recreation industry?
It's constantly growing. In the reasons why, I think back to the foundation of it is our parks and greenways and our trails are so intentionally built and cared for that just in this urban area, we have a lot of opportunity. Our access to the water is fantastic. We have a really strong paddle and paddle race community. Our front country is excellent for mountain biking with Galbraith Mountain being around for years and years. It's recognized as one of the best places to ride in the state. And if that's the case, I would even say the country. as that grows and gets more developed, more and more people are hearing about Bellingham as a mountain bike specific destination. It really all goes to the people here that care. There's so many gifted, talented people that move here intentionally. You have to, you know. And so I think that that's just shown over the decades of how thoughtful we are in the building of our community and how intentional we are. And you see that on Galbraith Mountain. I work really closely with WMBC, Walk a Mountain Bike Coalition, and their executive director, Eric Brown. We're constantly trying to figure out how we can just further this along and make this a better place to recreate, not only for ourselves, but really for our kids and families. It's just heartwarming to see, as they're called, little Groms, out riding around and just ripping, and it's just building up this whole culture of healthy activity and family engagement. So I think that's a big part of it, is trying to understand the inclusive side of things, and how, while mountain bike specific, there's big stuff to do up there, there's also stuff that you can take little kids or beginners on and have it be really manageable for people. So then to get back to Bellingham as a destination, even further we go out, we have the Mount Baker skier in our backyard, world record setting snowfalls. The bank slalom is a classic snowboarding event. So we've been on people's outdoor recreation map for years and years. And so now connecting it to Bellingham as a community has been an ongoing effort. I work closely with Bellingham Tourism. We created a campaign called Base Camp Bellingham that's just been growing and growing and growing and giving more exposure to the places, but also, as I said, to the people. So many amazing professional athletes here, or even armchair athletes that are just locals that are world class. So it's cool to see in that regard.
So getting back to you, the Bellingham Herald has awarded you not once but twice.
Yes.
One of 10 who cared in Whatcom County for your contribution to our community. What were those for?
The first time I was awarded that was for the work that I did for the Bike to Work program. I was contracted to help do that. That's really where I started my advocacy work, was around bicycle commuting and transportation back when I was in New Hampshire. So I brought that experience with me out here, and really my personal passion for cycling. And so getting involved in Bike to Work back in, I think, 2004, I don't have any numbers off the top of my head, but just blew Bike to Work up. And so the Herald recognized me for that work back then. And then I think it was probably 2013, recognized again for the work around the Bellingham Traverse. And as I see it, really just my gift to the community as an excuse for people to get out and have fun.
You call yourself a connector. What do you mean by that?
I've always been that guy that brings people together. And I think one thing that I enjoy about myself being a connector is recognizing the positive in people and finding other people to connect with, for them to be able to get work done, have fun, you know, whatever that is. It's not about me being a part of it necessarily. It's more about finding the positive in others to bring people together. Because there's so many times that we have similar goals, but not the experience to do it. So finding the people to connect in that regard is important to me. And that's part of our mission with Recreation Northwest. And even my tagline in the first consulting business when I started, when I first moved back, my tagline was connecting active people. So whether that's physically, socially, community driven, that's what I see as when I refer to people as active citizens.
You're also connecting people with the outdoors and opportunity there too.
Yes.
Which is also really important.
Yeah.
What would you say to someone who's, I I want to get outside, but I just don't know where to start? Or what would you say to someone who had that challenge?
It's it's start with, what do you like to do? Do you want to go for a walk? Do you want to go for a hike? Bike ride, road bike, mountain bike? Let's just talk about what kind of experience you want to have. And then I guess that degree of difficulty. And then connecting those people if they need the gear or the people to guide them. That's one of the things that's coming up more and more here in Bellingham is we have outdoor guides. And that's something that I'm working closely with Bellingham Tourism and my board to help even create a stronger culture of outdoor guide services.
That's one thing that I've always found important with my outdoor adventures is that if I have the right gear and the right guide, I'm pretty much up for anything.
Yep.
But that's important to be with the right people if you're trying something new.
And do your homework.
Yeah,
Yep.
exactly. And don't wear cotton.
Cotton kills.
Cotton kills. I learned that the hard way. I'm still alive, though.
Yeah.
What's your favorite thing about Bellingham?
I think it's the people. I mean, beyond the geography of our place, I really am just delighted with the people, again, that are intentionally here. We're not here for the money.
Yeah. Yeah. And where is your favorite place in Bellingham? Other than Boundary Bay or Stone's Throw or Instant Brewery here.
Really, I'll have to give a nod to Colshan Community Land Trust.
Okay.
We've just moved into our house within the last year, and so now our home and my backyard is our favorite place.
And when you say our, you're talking about you and
myself and my daughter Violet.
Okay.
She's 11 now, so we had 5 girls sleeping in our backyard last week celebrating her birthday, and just that sense of security and community at home is really important. As far as places outside, my favorite place, Fairhaven Park is my little special hideaway. And then otherwise, it's back to, depending on what I want to do. Galbraith and the Chuckanuts are fun for bike riding. The Bay, we're the back door to the San Juans. I am a sea kayaker, so I like to go for multiple days and island hop. So I like being on the water. There's a lot of solitude in being out there, and that connection to nature. You can't get any closer than being in a boat.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. How does it make you feel creating this organization that has made such an impact on our community? It's amazing.
It's starting to sink in. It's been a great honor to be a part of the development and evolution of our community, and having recreation recognized as an economic force. This is a new thing, not only locally, but nationally, because there's not a business segment for recreation. And so our counterparts on the national level, the Outdoor Industry Association, they've been beating the drum, letting Congress know that this is happening. And so we're part of, in the recreation economy side, really a national movement even in that regard. But because we were in early, it's one of those things like, Bellingham is on the map.
Yeah.
Those folks up there know what they're doing.
Yeah.
And it's not me. Those folks is Recreation Northwest, all the people that participate in our events. I have an awesome board of directors right now that's an excellent representation of the industry, and all the volunteers we have around it. So it's just that sense of ownership and pride that people show up and do stuff when we throw it out there. So,
What does the future of Recreation Northwest look like?
That's a great question, which my parents will appreciate because we always say that's a great question. We're 6 years into being an organization. We're a 501c3 charitable so you can give money to us, and we can do a lot of work that way. In that 6 years, we're in a big cycle turnover right now, and I have a good foundation for where our projects and our programs are. We've shifted from those 3 words of stewardship, education, and fun, really more into the 3 silos of work we do. The stewardship of Fairhaven Park is still core, but a very thin slice of the pie as far as the percentage of work that goes into that. Our Parkscriptions program, there's so much opportunity with that, that we're actually, if you look at our website, we're going to be pulling everything that's Parkscriptions related into just one domain of parkscriptions.org, so everything is there, and really just focused right now on Whatcom County for that. But there's other stuff happening that we're collaborating with state parks on, and other local municipalities are really interested in that. So we're kind of just trying to test the waters, keep it Whatcom County right now, but we don't know.
I don't know, Todd, the name is Recreation Northwest.
Yes, I know. That was intentional.
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
The growth.
Yeah. So, so that program's really new. Our recreation economy work, this I can tell you, I know that where we're headed in this, and this is as Violet and I would say, you heard it here first, folks. Part of that transition, because we're in this cycle of transformation right now, is we're working towards launching the Washington Outdoor Business Alliance as a program of Recreation Northwest, but really to put a stamp on the work that we've been doing over the years for advocating for the recreation economy, with the core focus here in Bellingham, Whatcom, almost North Sound, but we do have a stake in Seattle. We're working now to expand into Port Angeles and really have this be more of a statewide organization.
Wow.
So that's the big what's next, and I'm excited to launch that soon. So
That's exciting.
very exciting.
Yeah.
It's a lot to tackle, but we've also gone through some staffing transitions, and so now I have a new program director for Parkscriptions, and so she'll be taking that and leading that. I've been managing all this by myself with contractors and my supportive board over the last 9 months, so it's just been a big transition year for us, so really excited about what the future holds. We have some pretty good ideas, but there's a lot of unknowns, so.
That's great.
Yeah.
Well, where can we find out more?
It's all at recreationnorthwest.org.
Okay.
Yep.
Great.
And we have Facebook, and all that social, Instagrams, both for Recreation Northwest, but you can also follow Parkscriptions on Instagram too.
Coming to a
Yep.
brewery near you, Recreation Northwest, after the work party, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
The 2-hour work party.
Yep.
Todd, thank you. Thank you for what you're doing for the community, getting us outdoors, and thank you for being here today. Really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, Deb.
Todd Elsworth from Recreation Northwest, and we'll see you next time on Bellingham Voices.